The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Stone Zone. What's with these politicians? First, it was New York Attorney General Letitia James caught red-handed in a 22-year crime spree of mortgage fraud, lying on sworn documents in order to obtain a mortgage at a lower rate and a favorable insurance rate. In other cases, falsifying documents in order to qualify for mortgages that she herself was not eligible for. Then it was Senator Adam Schiff, formerly a congressman. He has a condominium in Burbank, California, as well as a home in Potomac, Maryland. The problem is that he declared both of them as his principal legal residence, getting a healthy tax break in both states and qualifying for lower mortgage rates. It's called mortgage fraud, and, well, other people have gone to jail for it. But now, the head of the Federal Housing Finance Administration, Director Bill Pulte, released a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, pointing out that Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook may have committed a criminal offense by falsifying bank documents and property records in order to require more favorable loan terms. Pulte alleges that Lisa Cook took mortgages on properties in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Georgia, signing agreements that stipulated that she would use each property as her primary legal residence for at least a year. Pulte has called on the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to investigate these charges and citing 4 criminal statutes that specifically he alleges Cook has violated. This is very serious stuff because, of course, were Cook to resign because of an indictment, and by the way, the president has the authority to fire a member of the Federal Reserve Governor's Board for cause. That's if the member of the board engaged in a crime. President Donald Trump today demanded that Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook resign over this emerging mortgage scandal. And the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, confirmed that she would launch an immediate investigation into the matter. Now, you may remember that the Deputy Attorney General, Ed Martin, was appointed only a week ago with the specific charge of looking into mortgage fraud. He has already announced that he will do a full aggressive probe of Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, as well as Senator Adam Schiff. But now Cook will probably also face criminal charges over the matter. The Federal Reserve is a notoriously corrupt institution that's responsible for much, if not all, of the inflation that is required to keep under control under its mandate. The irony here, of course, is that right now the board of the Federal Reserve opposes an immediate interest cut on the American people by a 5-4 margin. This makes very little sense because the two indicators that the Federal Reserve is supposed to use in their making a determination whether to cut interest rates on your credit cards or if you want to buy a house or a car or any other consumer purchase, are inflation and unemployment. But as of today, despite the false and inaccurate prognostications of the financial elite on Wall Street, inflation is either at the same level or actually lower than it was the last 4 times the Federal Reserve cut interest rates on the American people. And the same can be said of unemployment. So it's pretty clear that the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, is playing politics. He has to be disappointed that the draconian predictions of the financial elites, who said that Donald Trump's push for fairer tariff agreements with our trade partners would lead to runaway inflation, a stock market crash, and unprecedented unemployment turned out to be wrong on all three. We have a record Dow. Inflation remains low. The dollar remains strong, and the unemployment figures continue to be essentially de minimis. Just think of the economic boom that we would have if we had lower interest rates. I think the president's going to get them. I think he's going to get them because it appears to me like Lisa Cook will be leaving the board of the Federal Reserve. That would give the president the right to not only appoint a new member, but would also give him the right to appoint the chairperson. And therefore, I think a more robust economy is on its way. In the meantime, Tulsi Gabbard has eliminated security clearances for over 37 additional individuals believed to be compromised, including many that had a hand in perpetrating the Russian Gate conspiracy. A memorandum that was actually posted yesterday online, Tulsi Gabbard, the director of the Office of National Intelligence, said their access to classified systems, facilities, materials, and information is now terminated forthwith. Any contracts or unemployment with the U.S. government by these 37 individuals is hereby terminated. Any credentials held by these individuals must be surrendered to the appropriate security officers. Among those suspended, a man named Mar Bitar, identified right here in the Stone Zone as one of the key perpetrators of the Russian collusion hoax, advisor to Adam Schiff when the Democrats were in the majority in the House Intelligence Committee, now back serving again as the National Security Advisor for Senator Adam Schiff. Mr. Bihar is a strong proponent of jihad. He is a strong proponent of the Palestinian cause. He is a hater of Jews. I'm delighted to see that the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has moved forward. One of the other people who had their clearances removed was Vin Nguyen, a former top aide to Obama's Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper. Clapper, of course, is among those individuals who have been exposed in recent disclosures as having been among the most responsible for the genesis of the entire Russian collusion hoax. Those in the fake news media who continue to claim that there was, in fact, Russian interference in our elections, first of all, they do two things. They conflate interference in the election that was essentially de minimis in order to cause chaos. I'm sorry, but less than $150,000 worth of Facebook ads in an election in which $8.9 billion was spent for political messaging and advertising is a drop in the bucket. And the fact that the Russian bot farms that allegedly conducted that Facebook campaign never came to trial, even that is an unproven allegation. Beyond that, there is the false claim, recycled again and again and again by the reprobate conman, huckster, charlatan Adam Schiff, and the most corrupt prosecutor in U.S. history, Andrew Weissmann, that campaign manager Paul Manafort, that is Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort, shared proprietary polling information with a Russian intelligence asset. That is wrong for three different reasons. One, because the timing in question was at a time that the Trump campaign had no proprietary polling information. It was after the convention, but before the general election, and before they have done their first round of benchmark polling. Secondarily, all of the material that Manafort gave to his contact, a man named Konstantin Kilimnik, was on the public record, meaning polling that you could find anywhere online. And thirdly, Kilimnik is most definitely a American intelligence asset. We know this because in the cable traffic between our embassy in Kyiv and the U.S. State Department, his name is blacked out and redacted because he was a valued asset. The independent investigative journalist Matt Taibbi has definitely documented the fact that Kilimnik was a U.S. intelligence asset. But you see, having squandered $30 million on this investigation and having almost destroyed the lives of President Donald Trump, General Michael Flynn, Paul Manafort, and, yours truly, they have to say something. It is outrageous to me that it has taken this long. You may remember Special Counsel John Durham. He was supposed to get to the bottom of this, but he took 5 long years to tell us what we already know. The Steele dossier, which was the report that alleged that Donald Trump had dallied with prostitutes in Moscow while visiting that country as a private businessman, was a complete fugazi, a total fabrication, paid for by Hillary Clinton. In fact, once she got busted, she had to pay a hefty fine to the Federal Election Commission because she listed the payments for that illicit dossier as a legal expense rather than what it really was. And then just this week, Tulsi Gabbard uncovered declassified documents that prove that there never was any online hack of the Democrat National Committee by the Russians or anyone else. The speed time of the downloads, which can be tracked through forensic investigation, demonstrate that the material that was stolen from the Democrat National Committee or from Hillary's campaign was taken and downloaded to a portable drive and taken out the back door. So the entire hoax has collapsed, and it is my understanding that a federal grand jury has now been convened in New York, in Washington, and in Florida. That's because the legal theory behind this investigation is that it is a continuing conspiracy, meaning that it wasn't just in 2016 to try to hurt Trump in the election, 2017 to try to undo his election, but it was also in 2020 to try to interfere with the integrity of the 2020 election, and continued into 2024 and 5, culminating in the raid on the home of a former president at Mar-a-Lago. They rummaged through Melania's underwear drawer just as they rummaged through my wife's underwear drawer when they raided my home at 6 o'clock in the morning, when all they had to do was tell my lawyers that they were charging me with a non-existent crime, and I, of course, would have turned myself in. But then I wouldn't be all over CNN. I wouldn't have been able to raise literally millions of dollars for my legal defense. I would not have had my redemption in the blood of the cross, and I probably would not be with you today. Thank you for tuning in to the Stone Zone right here on the Red Apple Audio Networks. We'll be back with a lot more political news, so whatever you do, please don't touch that dial. Stay with us in the zone.
The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back into the Stone Zone. Billionaire Elon Musk has announced that he has canceled his plans for a third American party, and that he plans to support Vice President J.D. Vance in 2028. The tech billionaire Elon Musk is apparently back on the MAGA train after a slight hiccup over the summer, as reports indicate that the Tesla CEO is shelving his third-party scheme and planning to go all in for my friend J.D. Vance during his anticipated presidential run in 2028. Musk has been telling people close to him that he wants to focus on growing his various businesses and companies rather than embarking on the messy, complicated, and legally challenging process of starting a third party, particularly in an off-year election. Of course, a third party, were it to get on the ballot, could prove catastrophic to Republican chances in next year's midterm elections. Musk has also maintained a rapport with Vance and is considering using his vast wealth to back Vance during the 2028 presidential run, as he indicated. Musk canceled a call in July with an organization that specializes in setting up third-party campaigns, as Elon Musk quickly lost interest in the idea. As the person with the greatest responsibility for getting Libertarian Party candidate Governor Gary Johnson on the ballot as a Libertarian in 2012, that's because I could not abide Mitt Romney, a man who, in my opinion, believed in nothing whatsoever. I can tell you that even with a party organization, in this case the Libertarians, who already had ballot access in approximately, I would say at that time, 30 states, it is extraordinarily difficult to get on the ballot from the get-go as a new party. I wrote about this some time ago on my Substack. MAGA should be ready to let Elon Musk back into the fold, even though Musk's attacks on President Trump were a bit immature and actually completely uncalled for. He did quickly apologize for them, and none of that erases the great work he has done, not only in the 2024 presidential election, but also how he saved digital free speech with his acquisition of X. It is only that acquisition that allows me to have a social media presence, and frankly, I am most grateful to be back on the platform. When we come back into the Stone Zone, Sam Antar, fraud investigator par excellence, joins us to break it all down. Whatever you do, stay with us in the Stone Zone. We've got a lot more politics for you today.
The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back into the Stone Zone. Timing is really quite extraordinary. Me now is Sam Antar. Sam Antar is a very interesting individual. Once the centerpiece of one of the largest SEC frauds in American history, Sam paid his debt to society and reemerged as one of the country's leading fraud investigators, using his keen forensic and accounting skills to pinpoint fraud in both public and private institutions, with a special eye on politicians, who we all know to be among the most corrupt members of our society. It was Sam Antar who first uncovered the serial mortgage fraud by New York's Attorney General Letitia James. She tried to brush that away by telling the New York Times that these were simply typographical errors, which of course is nonsensical. Sam Antar is a man who keeps receipts. What I really like about his website, which you can see by going to whitecollarfraud.com, whitecollarfraud.com, is that Sam links the actual documents to all of his reporting. So you can see yourself that he's just not making representations. He shows you the actual fraudulent documents that he refers to. And it is therefore particularly interesting that he joins us today, because we woke up to news that Bill Pulte, who took action in the Letitia James case by sending a letter of criminal referral to the U.S. Justice Department, which resulted in the appointment of a special counsel to investigate mortgage fraud. That would be Ed Martin, Deputy Attorney General, now investigating mortgage fraud by both Letitia James and Senator Adam Schiff. Appears to me that he will now also, therefore, be investigating the alleged mortgage fraud by Lisa Cook. Now, Lisa Cook is not a name that is known widely to the American public, but she is on the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve. Now, in America, you're innocent until proven guilty, but I think Sam Antar will tell you this. The fraud investigators at the Federal Home Finance Administration are very serious about their jobs. They don't make criminal referrals for political reasons. They make criminal referrals based on the facts. So, Sam, welcome back into the Stone Zone. Your reaction to the news that Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook may have committed a criminal offense by falsifying, in this case, allegedly, according to Bloomberg this morning, falsifying bank documents and property records in order to acquire more favorable loan terms.
I looked at the documents, and she is, in my opinion, she's as guilty as stated. First, you have Ann Arbor, Michigan property. Okay, that property, she said that she was going to occupy it within 60 days. That's right in the mortgage, okay? And she said that it was going to be her primary residence, okay? Then, about 2 weeks later, she enters into another mortgage that she said on a condominium that she says it's going to be her primary residence too. Now, you can't have two primary residences. You have one primary residence, and that's it. There's nothing to dispute here. The way this information looks to me, she committed mortgage fraud, period.
What is it with these politicians that think they can get away with this? I suspect we're going to hear about a lot more of them. To me, if I did this, or if you did this, I think we both know what the result would be. Yet they seem to think that they're an elite class of protected individuals who can do whatever they want. If you would, just walk us through very quickly what you discovered about Letitia James, because it's very, very similar.
Well, it's similar in it's similar in that it's mortgage fraud. With Tish James, she had a building in Brooklyn that she owned and occupied. She claimed it had 4 units when it actually had 5 according to the certificate of occupancy. That allowed Tish James to obtain favorable terms on 10 mortgages over 20 or so years, period. On another property in Virginia, she claimed that, this is right before the Trump trial, she claimed that she was going to use it as her primary residence. She didn't, okay? That was a false statement to the bank. Earlier, 2 weeks earlier, she claimed she wasn't going to use it as a primary residence, and she claims the later statement was a mistake. It was witnessed by 2 people in her own office. One of the people was very, very involved in the Trump lawsuit. So she another cut and dry case. All of these cases are cut and dry. Lisa Cook, Letitia James is cut and dry. There's nothing to dispute. The documents speak for themselves. The documents are public documents. Anybody can see the progression of the documents. This is not rocket science.
It is, I don't think, an understatement to say, without the groundbreaking research published by Sam Antar at his website, whitecollarfraud.com, and the fact that elementary research got picked up by reporters like Joel Gilbert at the Gateway Pundit, we probably would not have the appointment of a special counsel, Ed Martin, to now look into these issues. This, I think, is a direct example of how one citizen determined to get to the truth can really make a major difference in the world today. Sam has also been a very articulate critic of the candidacy of the Ayatollah Zoran Mamdani. They tell us that Mamdani's come from behind shocking win in the Democrat primaries, people power, that this was grassroots generated, and that it was Mamdani standing up to the dark money and to the special interests. But then, in Mamdani's initial campaign finance filing with the New York City Board of Elections, the filing showed just the opposite. In fact, I looked at Sam Antar's work, and it appears to me that despite the fact that he got, at this point, probably millions of hits on Instagram, on Facebook, on X, on Snapchat, and so on, virtually no one pushed the donate button on his website. All of his money came from bundlers, particularly one particular bundler. Once that news broke through Sam's terrific website, whitecollarfraud.com, and was publicized here in the Stone Zone, well, then Mamdani's campaign went out and completely restated their campaign finance reports to completely contradict the first report. Personally, I think the first report was the truth. Then, this is almost laughable, they threatened to sue Sam Antar, to which I say, good luck with that. Sam Antar is the most meticulous researcher I've come across in the 50 years I've been in American politics. He never says anything that he can't absolutely, positively prove with the actual records. But now, perhaps the biggest story yet pertaining to the New York City mayor's race is the fact that the Mamdani phenomena that they keep touting as grassroots is actually funded by an interlocking series of political organizations and nonprofits that are legally prohibited by law and by their tax status from engaging in political activity. Sam has a shocking new report, got picked up by Zero Hedge, among others, that shows that there's a syndicate that was behind Mamdani's election. Sam, lay this out for us.
Okay. First of all, you have to understand the tax law. There's 501c3s. Those are charities. You give the money to the charity, you get a tax deduction. And then there are 501c4. Those are political organizations. You can't give money to them directly and get a tax deduction. So how do they do it? They wash it. You give money to a 501c3. You transfer it to a 501c3 transfers it to a 501c4, and therefore you get the tax deduction. I've called on the IRS, and I have filed a complaint to do a significant investigation of this entire thing. They need a task force to investigate all of these nonprofits. As I laid out in my blog in detail, this is a syndicate that of interlocking management and interlocking personnel and money going back and forth. If you want, I'll give you an example. Okay? Soros donates money to the Open Society Institute. That's one of his charities. It's a 501c3. He gets a tax deduction. Step 2, Open Society Institute, which is a 501c3 charity, sends $6.9 million to the Tides Foundation, which is also a Section 501c3 charity. Step 3, Tides, which is the 501c3 charity, sends $4.6 million to the Working Families Organization. That's a 501c4 political group. Now you got money from charities to politics that's been fully tax deductible. Okay? The Working Families Organization takes that money and sends it to PACs and super PACs and etc. supporting their candidates. When you look at Mamdani, when you look at Letitia James, because they're both members of the Working Families Party, they are the products of a machine. They are the end result. They were manufactured by this machine for public consumption. You wonder why people got to where they are? This is why. They're manufactured by a machine funded by billionaires, primarily Soros, but we also have other money coming in from billionaires in Silicon Valley in California.
I guess you filed a formal complaint with the Internal Revenue Service. The question is, of course, will the IRS take action quickly enough to prevent these same kind of abuses from taking place in the general election. Today, I see the mayor's race continuing to be in flux with some slight movement, which we'll talk about here in a moment. But Sam, do you think there is a chance that the IRS will move expeditiously to stop these illegal activities?
It depends upon the commissioner of the IRS. Whoever's the commissioner of the IRS can direct resources, can overrule section heads, etc. The government is an entrenched bureaucracy. One thing I learned is it's not so much the agency, it's who it is at the agency that gets things done. I believe what we have is a massive tax fraud scheme. I believe that there's over $1 billion the IRS can collect. That's my belief. Okay, I believe that these people engaged in illegal election interference. I believe in a lot of things, but you know something? The IRS has to investigate. I provided documents. I filed 3 supplemental submissions to the IRS. I've filed plenty of documents showing them the trail, and it's up to them. If they can't put it together, then they're incompetent.
If you're just tuning in, folks, we're talking to professional fraud investigator Sam Antar. He has examined the claims by the Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Bill Pulte, a story which broke this morning that suggests that Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook has committed a criminal offense by allegedly falsifying bank documents and property records to acquire more favorable mortgage loan terms. So this is now more than just a claim by Mr. Pulte. It has now been documented by our guest, Sam Antar, who I can tell you is extraordinarily meticulous in any assertion that he makes. I have been very impressed by his research. By the way, go to his website, whitecollarfraud.com. You'll see that he documents everything he says. And now he has come forward to say that the allegations put forward by the director of the FHFA, who, by the way, oversees both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the nation's 2 largest governmental mortgage agencies, are, in Sam's opinion, you heard it yourself, accurate, and that this is an open and shut case. This is a little different than the allegations of various politicians cheating on their mortgages, because in the event that Cook is forced to resign, and the president does have the authority to fire her for cause, well, that would shift the balance on the Federal Reserve, which would lead, I think, very quickly to an interest rate cut for the American people. Something that I think, based on the current rate of inflation and the current rate of unemployment, is merited. It's extraordinary that the last 4 times that the Federal Reserve cut interest rates, unemployment and inflation were either lower than or at the exact same place they are today. Don't go away. We'll be back with Sam Antar right here in the Stone Zone right after this brief break.
The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And you're back in the zone with Roger Stone. We're talking to Sam Antar, who is the editor and publisher of whitecollarfraud.com. He is the man who first uncovered the serial mortgage fraud by New York Attorney General Letitia James. Also today on the show, confirming that Federal Reserve Board Governor Lisa Cook has engaged in mortgage fraud, signing agreements that stipulated that she would use 2 different properties, one in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and one outside of Atlanta, Georgia, as her principal legal residence, thus getting a state tax break in both states, but also qualifying for lower mortgage rates. Only a year later, she listed the Georgia property for rent, meaning it could not possibly be her principal residence. You heard it from Sam Antar, who is an expert on these matters. Sam, here are the latest overnights from the tracking poll being done by Kaplan and Associates. This is 1,000 samples citywide. The way this works is every night you take a new 100 samples and you drop the oldest 100 samples, so you have a rolling 1,000 sample overall to determine the direction and changes in the race. Today, if the election were held today, the Ayatollah Zoran Makdami has dropped from 37 to 36. Andrew Cuomo dropped from 22 to 21. Curtis Sliwa up by a couple points, now at 19, up from previously being at 16. And in last place, the current incumbent mayor, Eric Adams, bringing up the rear position at 13. Slight increase in undecided, went from 8 to 11. Not unusual when you have this kind of volatility in any given election. Your thoughts about the current state of the mayor's race, Sam?
In 1969, there was a race in Chile with Salvador Allende. Remember Allende? That was during the Nixon administration, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. He won the presidency of Chile. He was a socialist. He won the presidency of Chile with 36% of the vote. What does Mamdani have? 37, you just said?
36.
Okay. What we are seeing in New York is a repeat of what happened in 1969 in Chile when they elected a socialist and the ongoing chaos that ensued afterwards. This is what's going on in New York today. What needs to be done is between the three other candidates, two of them have to drop out. Now, you can have your preference as to who should stay. We can get that. We get that, okay? Politics is politics. But two of them have to drop out. Otherwise, Mamdani wins the mayoral race.
I'm afraid I think that is a shrewd and accurate analysis. I'm afraid we have to leave it there. Sam, thanks for joining us today in the Stone Zone, and to our Stone Zone listeners, until tomorrow, God bless you and Godspeed.
Thanks for listening to The Stone Zone with Roger Stone. You can hear The Stone Zone with Roger Stone weeknights at 8 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?